Last में? All of you can hear me? Okay. Not able to hear? Do we have some other mic? Now it's audible? I think I can be audible without the mic also. But let's use the mic so that all are comfortable. So good morning and Jai Hind everyone. How's the Josh? Doesn't look like. We need to have it a little higher. We are the young people of this great country, right? So we'll try it once again, but it should be heard across the streets. People should be amazed at what's going on here. So we'll try it once again. Okay? Ready? How's the Josh? This side is little better. Little down. One final time. Okay? How's the Josh? Now it sounds better. So I'll briefly give you my introduction, who I am, from where do I come, and how I have landed up here today in Hyderabad, having the opportunity to speak with the young minds of this great country. My name is Major Abhinandan Singh. So you would be wondering how come a major giving us a talk regarding civil services, right? So I'll tell you my story so that you can relate to it, you can identify, and you can seek some inspiration from the story that I have. The very reason I am here today is not just to tell you how do we study. That is not the only reason. In fact, that is not the main reason why I am here. I am here to tell you to develop a belief system in yourself. Because civil services, UPSC examination, state PSC examination, this will all be just a small thing when you realize the potential that all of you hold. Civil services is difficult? How many of you say it is difficult? So that's, you say it is difficult. What about the rest? It is easy? It is neither difficult, it is nor easy. It depends upon you. Nothing in itself is difficult, nothing in itself is easy. It is the mindset, it is the self-belief that I can do it. I believe all of you are targeting UPSC, Civil Services Examination. All of you? Anybody here who is not planning to become a civil servant? Anybody? So I would recommend and request all of you to participate in the discussion, because the more you participate, the more you will derive from it and the more you will enjoy. So feel free to participate. I believe all of you are here to become civil servants. How many stages are there in the civil services exam? First one, second, third, personality test. Do you think that personality will be developed after the mains examination? So personality development starts right now. So when I tell you or ask you a question, or if you have a question in mind, do not hesitate. Why? Because if you are hesitating, it means somewhere you do not have the confidence to stand up and speak. If today you do not show the courage, how will you expect yourself to show the courage when you face the interview panel? Am I clear in this? So it starts today. Even if till today you were shy, you were nervous, you were underconfident, leave it behind. Leave all that behind. Today is the new beginning. Today we all will start a new journey, including me. So that is the sole reason I am here today. So let me talk about myself a little bit. From where do I come, what I have studied, how I landed up in the army, and from the army now how I have landed up in the Indian Police Service. I come from Jammu and Kashmir, up north. Anybody been to Jammu and Kashmir? I hope all of you go on to become civil servants, and some of you may get the Agmat cadre, which is Jammu and Kashmir is a part of that, or even if not the Agmat cadre, you will definitely get to visit Jammu and Kashmir in your Bharat Darshan. All of you are aware Bharat Darshan is a part of the program. Once you qualify and undergo the training, whether it be any service, you will go for Bharat Darshan and you will visit almost all the states of the country. So I come from a very small town called Akhnur, which is situated in the district Jammu of Jammu and Kashmir. I have done my schooling entirely from that small town, Akhnur. Post my senior secondary, I did my graduation again from a government college in Jammu, which is I did my BTech in electronics and communication. And when I was in the third year of my college, as fate would have it, I never planned to join the army. But one thing was absolutely clear right from the beginning while I was in school. And that was, I want to dedicate this life to the service of my country. That was the only motivation back then, 10 years, 12 years ago. That is the motivation right now today as I stand in front of you. So in the third year of my college, as luck would have it, a team of army officers came to my college. There was an entry called University Entry Scheme. It has been now discontinued. So as per that scheme, a team of the officers came to the college and they conducted a very small 10-15 minute interview of the aspiring candidates. I never prepared for the interview and I never consciously thought that I'll join the army. But the team came, I sat for the interview and I was selected to go for the SSB. Interview was just a shortlisting or screening so that we could go and appear in the SSB. A few months later, I had the opportunity to go to the SSB in Allahabad, 19 SSB. Anybody has given the SSB here? So you have some idea. So I went to Allahabad, 19 SSB, and again, I did not prepare it. Why? Because as I told you in the beginning, SSB, personality test of the UPSC Civil Services, it is a test of what you are. You cannot change it in few days. It is what you have done all through your life, right from the days when you were a school student. So that was the thought process. I just went with the thought process that I'll get to learn something new. But I got selected in the SSB, and simultaneously I had written another examination for the Air Force, which is called the FCAT examination, which still happens. Anybody given that? Okay. So I qualified that, went for another SSB in Dehradun, and I again qualified that. So June 2014, my graduation ended, and July 2014, I had an option in life. I had something to choose from. Everybody has heard the Robert Frost poem, two roads diverged by the yellow wood, and I chose the one less traveled by. So here I was in a dilemma. What was the dilemma? Either I join the Indian Army, or I join the Air Force, or I don't join anything and prepare for civil services. But because I wanted to serve the country and there was energy that time, I decided to join the army. 5th of July was my joining for the Air Force. 8th of July was the joining for the army. So I landed up in the Indian Military Academy for my 1-year-long training. Now there are a few lessons which I learned in the Indian Military Academy and I'd like to share that with you. The first thing that I told you today, we are here to develop that belief system. How many of you believe that you will definitely clear the civil services examination? Not a significant number, right? But the aim of today's talk is, by the time this talk ends, I want all of you to be very confident that, yes, sir, I will be able to clear the civil services examination. How? We will talk about it. So, two most important lessons I learned in the Indian Military Academy. The first is, there is no limit. There is a famous quotation which we are made to recite every day. It says that whatever does not kill you only strengthens you. So the pain, the suffering, all of you undergo something that's quite reasonable. It happens with all of us. So if you are undergoing a problem in life, fold your hands and thank God. Why? Because generally what happens? We start cribbing, we start scolding our family members, our parents, maybe sometimes God also. Why have you landed me in such big trouble, right? It happens. Don't do that. Why? Because you have to be thankful. What is the difference between a diamond and a graphite? Anybody a chemistry student here? But I think all of us must have studied that in class 11 and 12. Both carbon, which is graphite, and diamond, both are carbon. They are allotropes of carbon, made up of same thing. But the only thing that converts a raw carbon into diamond is the amount of pressure and temperature it withstands. So today, if you are facing that pressure, if you are feeling that you are under a lot of pressure, a lot of problems are there, it means you are in the process of becoming a diamond. Be thankful for that. So the first lesson of the Indian Military Academy, which I learned and I want all of you to learn, that is, sky is not the limit. It is just the beginning. Who said it? If I am not wrong, Vikram Sarabhai said it. I'm not sure, but I think he said it. I did not say it. I am just repeating it. Don't post on the social media and write my name. It's not my quote. But yes, we need to learn from wherever possible. So if we are not dying because of study, because of the pressure from family, from society, and all those things, if we are not dying, it means we are in the process. And what if we die? It is the end. Everybody of us will someday or the other die. So that is not our baby. We will not think about that. That will happen when it has to. But our focus is, problems are not problems. Problems are situations which have to be dealt with. Suppose if I have to walk along the road and there is a huge stone which is lying on the road. Is it a problem? It is not. It is just a situation. You can either remove the stone from the road or you can take a detour and travel to your destination. So don't forget this first lesson, that if you are undergoing problem, it is okay. There is no limit to what the human body and human mind can undergo. There is no limit to it. You are absolutely invincible. All of us. You have to believe that. So first lesson is clear to everybody. Second lesson which the Indian Military Academy taught me and I'm sharing with all of you, it is called the Chetwood credo. Chetwood credo means it is kind of, whenever we are confused in life, or once you enter the services, or you do a business or whatever you want to do, once you reach there, how do you differentiate that what is to be done and what not to be done? What is the order of priority in which the actions are to be done? So Chetwood credo says, the safety, honor and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. So it is the nation which will always come first. The American president said, ask not what the nation can do for you. Ask instead what you can do for your country. So similar feelings are represented by the first phrase of Chetwood credo. Whatever happens, it is the nation which will always come first. Now, how do we relate it to our journey, right? That is something which will come once you start working. But don't you think that you are preparing for civil services for your own sake. You are not. The future of the country, the future of India, the future of Hyderabad, the future of Telangana depends upon what the youth of this country does. From now till 25 years, 50 years from now, what you do, all of you in early 20s, most of you, average lifespan is close to 70, minimum 50 years you have, unless you get into some altercation with somebody and something happens. But broadly, around 50 years, still you have to contribute to the country. So sometimes these students ask me, sir, we get demotivated. The point is, how can you get demotivated when you know that what you are doing is going to shape the country? So start thinking that way. You are preparing for civil services not for your own sake, but because you are in for a wonderful cause. You are here for something which is so beautiful, something which is so pious that you cannot fail in that. So coming back to the Chetwood credo, it says that the safety, honor and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. The second phrase says the safety, honor and welfare of the men you command comes next. So once you go to the services, there will be hierarchy, there will be people who will be working under you. So once you have ensured the task at hand, nation's welfare has been taken care of, then you have to ensure that the people working under you, they have to be taken care of. You cannot be arrogant. Success has to come with humility and not with arrogance. And the third and the most important thing, your own ease, your own comfort and your own welfare will always come last, always and every time. Now, maybe you start your study. You study for 2 hours, then you feel demotivated. You feel lethargic. But then remember the Chetwood credo. You're not working for yourself. You're working for the country. And this lethargy, this indiscipline is thinking about your own comfort, which will always come at the last. So if you channelize your energy and start thinking on these lines, then automatically that motivation will never leave you. It is not just motivation, it is a part of the discipline. Motivation is just a very small component of success stories. Motivation will only help you start. What will help you continue is that fire within your belly, fire in your stomach, that you are in here because you want to make sure that the problems in our country, the problems in our state, the problems in our city are our responsibility. What will happen if we don't do it? That's a question. If we don't come up, people who are less deserving, people who do not have that fire in them to work for the country but for themselves, opposite of Chetwood credo. They will think of themselves first, people later and country last. So we don't want those people to control the decision making. So that is the reason why you have to prepare for civil services or for whatever you want to prepare. But if you want to prepare, be the best in that. So these are the 2 lessons which I learned in the Indian Military Academy and I've shared them with you. Just remember these 2 lessons. We'll come to other lessons of life once I'm done with telling you how I landed up in civil services. Now I got commissioned in the Indian military, in the army in 2015 after completion of 1-year training. So I went to my postings in Assam, then Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Jammu Kashmir and Punjab. But in 2017, something happened which somebody would say brought me to my knees, or somebody would say gave me an opportunity to rise again and do something more meaningful within my capabilities. In one of the training events in 2017, I got a serious injury in the spine and the ankle. And over a period of next 1.5 to 2 years, it kept getting bad. I could not walk, I could not run, and there were a lot of problems. I could not sit also properly. And that is the time, because I was a permanent commissioned officer and I could have easily continued till my retirement age and have a pension and then easily go into the mediocre life. But as I told you in the beginning, the youth of this country are not supposed to be mediocres. You're not born to be average. You're born to be champions. You're born to be great. You're born to dream big. And Swami Vivekananda said that weakness is a sin. Weakness is a crime. So don't commit that crime. And that was the very thought process which instilled in me a spirit that I will not walk down because of the injury. I will rise up from here. So 2018-19 was the time I decided that now I will start preparing for civil services. Now again, army will not leave you because I was a permanent commissioned officer. For me, clearing the exam was not that difficult as compared to army leaving me. But let me tell you, if your intentions are pure, if your intentions are divine, the universe will help you. All of you have heard that Shah Rukh Khan's dialogue. What is the dialogue? अगर आप किसी चीज को इतनी शिद्दत से चाहो तो सारी कायनात आपको उसे मिलाने में लग जाती है या दिलाने में लग जाती है. बट पॉइंट है शिद्दत तो चाहिए, बट मोर देन दैट it is the intention with which you want that. You may want to become a civil servant because of the privileges, because of the bungalows, because of the people you get around, because of the vehicle, because of the prestige, but that is not what original intent is. So this why, if you are clear in this why intent, why do you want to become a civil servant? For me, as I told you, the why was always clear. Even as I stand today, the why is the service of the country. Whatever service you get, you are in the service of the country. That is the most important thing. So I started preparing in 2019. I was posted to Jodhpur. From there, I had to be sent to Srinagar. That is the time when Article 370 was abrogated. I was in the valley, stayed there for 4-5 months. Then from there, I was sent to Fazilka in Punjab, Firozpur, then Samba, Jammu. I kept traveling all this while I was preparing. I gave my first attempt in 2021, and what happened? As happens with everybody, I could not clear the prelims. It's totally fine not to clear in the first attempt. It's okay. Because, as I told you, it is all a part of the process. So don't get disheartened by failures. It is not a failure. It is just, there is some scope lying between you and the target. Just identify that. For me, let me tell you, the general studies cutoff I could clear very comfortably by 6 to 7 marks. But the CSAT, I missed marginally by point some marks. Had I attempted one less wrong answer or attempted one more wrong answer, one more correct answer, I would have been through. But they say that in life there is no scope for regret. You either undergo the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. So for me, it was the pain of discipline which I was wanting to and ready to undergo. So I sat down again and identified what were the flaws in the 2021 attempt, and as such I may not have been ready for the mains. So I sat down, identified what are my weak points, and I came back again 2022. All this while I was still in the army. I was working along the international border in Jammu Kashmir. I was working in a sensitive profile. It was an operational role, but I kept working, and whatever time I used to get, I used to study. For me, there were only 3 things to be done in life that time, that phase of my life. Either I would be working for the uniform I'm wearing, or I will be studying, or I'll be sleeping. These were the 3 and the only 3 works that I was doing. No interaction, no going anywhere. Even on my leaves, I confined myself for good 3-4 years into the room. If I was in the cantonment, I was in my room. If I went home for leave, I was in my home only. Because I had a limitation of time. Unlike you, who most of you are preparing full time. Anybody working? So this is the best chance, best time when you are not working, when there is least amount of pressure from the family and mental state is absolutely free, because you have the freedom of time. Once you start getting a little heavy on the edge and on the attempts, then that pressure starts mounting. Then you need to take up a job. So right now is the best time. So 22 attempt, I gave the pre, it got okay. Then I appeared for the mains. Again, it was okay. Then till the mains, I was in the army, 2022. And by the time I got the positive results for the mains, that time I was relieved from the army. Now I was a military veteran. So I appeared for the interview, and as luck would have it, I got through. And that year I was allotted the Indian Railways Management Service, IRMS. I joined the service, and there is a provision in which we can take a year-long leave if we have to appear again. So I applied and I took a year-long leave and gave 2023 attempt, and in that the results came this year, and I was allotted the Indian Police Service. And I was here in Hyderabad for my joining formalities. That is the reason That is the reason I am here in front of you today. Now, first of all, don't believe anybody who tells you that the students who are sitting in Delhi are at advantage or more advantage as compared to you. Anybody of that thought process? Anybody who believes Delhi is more comfortable, students are more comfortable there? What is the biggest drawback with Delhi? You will not be able to breathe. Unless you have oxygen cylinders, or some of your parents or family members have the factory which establishes or produces the oxygen. Delhi is not a very safe and comfortable place to be. Second thing, what is the problem? You stay away from your family. So your mental health goes for a 6. You have to keep worrying. Next, महीने का rent कहाँ से आएगा? कब आएगा? You have to think about what you will eat next. So right now, staying here in the comfort of your homes, near your home, it is the best place to be. In today's times of technology, of internet, you are as good as anybody sitting in Delhi, or maybe even better than the people sitting in New York also. Because technology is equally accessible to all of us. Is that clear? So this was about me. How I came, where I came from, and how I landed up in the Indian Police Service. Now let me shift my focus towards UPSC Civil Services preparation in specific. How do we prepare it? The first step towards preparation, we have already began on that note. It is what is the first step? What is this first step towards preparation of civil services? Anybody? Just be confident, stand up and speak, because if we speak like this, nobody will be able to hear anything. Or even you can sit and just speak loudly. Planning, yes. Anybody else? Yes, please. Feel free and feel confident. This is the time to build that and do away with the nervousness and shyness that we have. Because if you actually want to be civil servants, let me tell you, this shyness, this nervousness is not going to help you. And right now is the time when you still have classes, when you have people around, that confidence and nervousness can be dealt with. Once these classes are over and you are staying alone in your room and studying, that time you will not be able to get the exposure to this environment. So what is the first step somebody was mentioning here? Yes. Anybody else? Yes. Yes. Please. You're saying something? Feel free. Relax and feel free. Yes, please. Okay. So all these things are important. But the first step is self-belief, as pointed by her and as we already discussed. If you do not have the self-belief that I can do it, then you will definitely not do it. There is something magical about belief. You know that? If you believe you can, you will. If you believe you can't, you won't. It is up to you. So the first step is having that belief system that I am getting into this battle and I have it within me to win this battle. That is the first step. Then comes the planning, then comes the syllabus, all these things come later. But before that, let's start with the self-belief that all of us sitting here today are capable of achieving our dreams of becoming a civil servant. How many of you believe that you can become civil servants? The number is going higher. We'll try and make sure that everybody of you, by the end of the session, is absolutely convinced that they can do it. There should be no reason to not believe this. The only reason is if we are not willing to stay disciplined. We will come to that in a while. Now let's talk a little bit about strategy. How to start with prelims, how to start with mains, and how to prepare for the interview. Interview we'll discuss at the end. Now, first of all, the biggest problem which most of us as aspirants face is what to study, what not to study, right? Before you get on to what to study and what not to study, remember one thing. The market is flooded with books, notes, and so many videos. Don't fall into the trap. Don't fall into the fear of missing out. In this examination of UPSC Civil Services, both in prelims and mains, you are not supposed to get 100% marks. Anybody who gets 50% is a sure shot selection. In fact, 50% in the mains mean top 100 or maybe sometimes top 50. You're not supposed to get 70, 80, 90, 100%. So don't consider if I read from this book and leave this, I am doomed. You are not. Why I tell you this is, just understand this. If you understand, then you will realize that why I am telling you this. Suppose he is a teacher and he has written a book of history. Let's say a book X. He wants to stay relevant in the market, right? There is another author who has produced another book. He is also of the same thought process that if I am getting a book in the market, it is because he wants his book to be purchased by students, right? So everybody who is a standard source and wants to produce a book in the market, if he is the one who is producing a book after him, would he have missed anything which he has already covered? At max, maybe a couple of facts, one or two which he thinks are irrelevant, but 90-95% of the content in all the books will be same. What mistake we as aspirants do, we will read a book, for example, for history, we read Spectrum. For modern history, we read Spectrum. But when we start solving the PYQs, we come across one question which is not mentioned in the Spectrum. Then we close the Spectrum, open the Google, what are the history books, and we buy 3 other books. And what happens? Spectrum, which you were supposed to revise 10-15 times, you closed after half reading, and then what happened? You did not even read the 3 new books which were purchased by you. So don't do this mistake, because it is famously said that you will not win by those 1,000 moves which you have practiced one time, but that one move, for us the move is the book source. That one move which you have practiced 1,000 times is what you will achieve your victory from. So don't fall in this trap, this fear of missing out, that I will get this source also, this book also. That is not going to serve the purpose. Now the second question is, if I am telling you not to purchase so many books, what books to purchase? I will share the book list that I have studied, but don't follow me also. You can do one thing, go to Google or YouTube, just identify 4 toppers, maybe in top 10 or top 20. Okay? Identify their book list. Suppose topper 1, 2, 3, 4, you have made a list. Topper 1 has a book list, topper 2 has a book list, topper 3 has a book list, and topper 4 has a book list. Right? Now, all the books which are common to everybody, without any doubt, get that. And in the other books which are not read by everybody, the book which is read by majority, take that. Just stick to those sources, and in addition to that, do not refer to any other material. The point is just reading one particular source again and again, again and again. Because in the exam pressure, in the exam situation, what happens? We will only remember what we have revised 10 times, 15 times, not what we have read one time. Maybe accidentally we might recall 1 or 2 facts, but not more than that. So this is how you finalize your book list. Don't listen to me, don't listen to one person. Just identify 3 or 4 people who you feel are good enough, and based on that, make a book list. But the point is, the important point here is, once you have finalized the book list, close this chapter. Don't open this chapter every 2 months or 3 months. That no, I am not satisfied with the book list. You may not be satisfied because you have not read it enough number of times. Read it. And don't get confused कि market में there are some additional notes from some other institute, from some other A, B, C, and you get onto that, and just imagine, this is my study table. If I have one book here and I am reading just that, and in opposition to that, I have 10 books lying here, which will be a more preferable situation? One book. So why do you want to complicate the matter? UPSC, or for that matter, any challenge in life, is in itself very simple. What is difficult then? It is the mind. Mind does not agree to simplicity. Mind does not believe, how can this be so simple? Mind believes that if it was so simple, why everybody is not becoming civil servant, right? It is for this purpose only. It is for this reason only that everybody thinks that I need to do more and more and more, and in the end ends up not even doing what was basically required. So if you can understand this very simple thing, this will simplify your entire preparation. Don't get confused. I'm telling you again. Civil services preparation is not tough. How many of you believe that civil services has a huge syllabus? There are n number of books which are to be read. How many of you believe that? That syllabus is too much? Syllabus is not too much. How it will become too much? For every source, suppose if I tell you my book list, there are total 10 books of the static portion of the GS, or maybe 11, not more than that. But if I take 2 or 3 for every source, that 11 will become 33. So that is where the problem starts. If I only have 10 books to read, I can plan very comfortably. I'll say that first week, suppose I have read it 3-4 times earlier, now I want to plan for the prelims. How many of you are appearing for 25? Prelims 25? And all these who are appearing in 25, have you read the basic GS ka static portion at least 2-3 times? How many times have you read it? One time? How many? One time? Twice? How many? So if you not read it twice, right now is the time to amend it if you are actually serious about 25. For 26 and beyond, we have time. For 25, we are just left with right amount of time. We don't have much time now. If we waste, then it will be less. But right now, it is the adequate time. So finalize this book list. All of what are the sources that you're referring to? Whatever is the source, just stick to one particular source. Whatever you have read from. If you have read it one time, just read it, reread it, and revise it. That is the only secret. So let's now first talk about the prelims, since there are students who are appearing in 25. So prelims, there are 3 important components. What are they? Anybody who is appearing for 25? What are the 3 important components or 3 subheadings which we need to discuss prelims in? One is the static portion, other is the current affairs, and third is CSAT. Only these 3 things. First, let's talk about static portion. Static portion, as I told you, there are limited number of subjects, 10 to 12. We have history, 3 histories are there, modern, ancient and medieval. Then we have geography. History, how many books? 3 books. Geography, how many books? Not 1 book, we have 2 books. NCERT for, which is Indian Physical and World Geography. There are 2. If you want to add 1 more, there is GC Leong. Only these 3 books. Even if you don't want to read GC Leong or GC Leong, you can selectively read first 2 or 3 chapters, not more than that. So 3 books for history, 3 books for geography. Polity, how many books? For prelims, Lakshmikant is enough. How many books total? 7. Economy, 1 book. I have read from Ramesh Singh. You can read from any other. Because I started reading Ramesh Singh back in 2018-19, so I did not change. My philosophy has been simple. Whatever I have read from, I will continue with that. So whatever source you are reading from, you continue with that. So 1 book of economy. How many total books? 8. 1 book for art and culture. I have read from Nitin Singhania. You can refer to whatever source you are reading. 9 books. 1 more, environment. I have read from Shankar IAS selectively. Whatever the book you have read, you can refer to that. How many books? 10 books. Any subject we are left with? Science tech, generally NCERT you can refer, or I'll be practical. I have not read anything for science and technology, since I believe that most of it will be covered either from current affairs or my long-term knowledge. But if you want to be a little more focused, you can read the biology sections of, because there are certain sections in biology which directly come in from the NCERTs. So you can refer to that. So let's add one more book for science tech. How many total books? Any other book that I am missing, subject that I am missing? So these are the 11 books that you need to focus for the static portion of prelims. Not even one more source. The more you add, the more difficult you are making for yourself to qualify the exam. Now, how do you revise for 25? For those who are appearing. Let us assume that you have read it one time only as of now. And we are into, what is the date today? 12th December. Let's take it, we'll make a plan from 1st January onwards. Let's assume that till 31st of December you are reading for the mains. Right? So the first reading of the static portion starts from January 1st. Total 11 books. Can I expect you to read the entire syllabus of GS in 45 days? If you have read it at least a couple of times before or one time before. How many of you have read Lakshmikant? Polity? 25 wale jo de rahe hain. You have not read Lakshmikant? What is the source for polity that you are using? 25 wale, can you please raise the hands again? You have not read polity abhi tak? Lakshmikant you are reading? Again I am telling you, feel confident. Don't feel shy that people will judge you. Those who will judge you, they will keep on judging entire life. And you will go on and serve as the district collectors of Hyderabad. Okay? Let them judge. So, let us assume Lakshmikant is the first book that we start. Make a plan of 7 to 8 days for that. Similarly for history, Spectrum, make a plan for 7 days. For other history, maybe 4 days, 5 days for medieval and ancient. Likewise, if you formulate a plan for entire thing, let us assume that first reading we are able to finish by 45 days. This is not a very huge target that I am giving you. This is comparatively very simple. What I follow, at any given point of time, I read only one particular subject. For example, if I start with polity, I will read polity only and maybe one current affairs source. I will not complicate the matters a lot because I want my table to be as empty as possible. The more empty the table, the more relaxed I am. So I read one book. So maybe if you tell me I can finish the Lakshmikant in 3 days also, maybe 2 days also, because I've read it 10 times. But since you have not read it that many number of times, so first reading let us assume for 7 to 8 days. So likewise, you are able to revise the entire static syllabus by 15th of February. First reading, or in a way, first revision. Is that clear? Now, if you have read the entire syllabus in 45 days for the first time, can I expect you to do it the second time in 30 days? Quite reasonable. So, second revision will be done by 15th of March. Okay? If you have done the second in 30 days, can we expect the third in 25 days? Quite logical. So, starting from 15th of March, 25 days, 10th of April, we will be done with the third revision. Fourth revision, can I expect you in 20 days? So, by the end of April, we will have done our fourth revision. And when is the exam in 25? 26th May? 25th May. So, after having revised the whole syllabus 4 times, we still have 24 days left. So, in that 24 days, you can at least revise the entire syllabus 2 times. So, bare minimum, you are revising 5 to 6 times the entire static syllabus in a matter of 5 months. So, that will give you that reinforcing value and also the confidence that you can solve the questions. Anybody who has any doubts regarding the static portion of the prelims, right now we are only talking about prelims. If anybody has any doubt regarding any source or any strategy with respect to static, feel free to ask. I again tell you, don't hesitate, because hesitation is not going to help you. What is going to help you is asking questions. Everybody clear in that? We'll come to that mock test also. So static portion, everybody is clear? The second thing is current affairs. All of you are confused? Or is there anybody who is clear what do we do with the current affairs? Current affairs again, don't complicate. Things are not complicated. We are the ones who make it complicated. So what do? Any standard source you pick up. Any standard source means any. Whichever is available in the market, just pick up the PDF. The choice is yours. You can refer to the monthly also, or you can refer to the daily current affairs also. But the secret is you need to make notes out of it. For example, let's assume a particular compilation that we have. The monthly compilation of any standard source is close to 150 to 200 pages, right? If we don't make notes, we have to read minimum 12 months. So 150 pages for 12 months will be around about 1800 to 2000 pages. So you have on your table 2000 pages like this. Okay? Or in comparison, if you make notes and are able to finish the notes of any particular month in 30 to 40 pages, not more than that. You have to make it a point. Don't make very, very elaborate notes. 30 to 40 pages, then for the entire year you will only have around this much, 400, 450 pages, not more than that. So refer to any source, but make notes out of it. Now the question is, what do we make notes out of, or what do we make, or what do we note in the notes, right? Notes kaise banane? That is the question. Current affairs, anything, have you read the monthly compilations? Have you seen through it at least? So when you go through that, suppose the first topic is polity. It is subject wise. So suppose the first topic is polity and bulk of the topic covered in the polity is what you have read in Lakshmikant. Don't note anything which is already there in the Lakshmikant. Note only that thing which is new to you, or which is absolutely recent in happening, or a factual information which is not there. Only these things are to be noted. Rest everything, the English part of it, the comprehension part of it is to be avoided. Because you only need to know what the relevant information is. You're not supposed to write down the English in that. You're writing propositions, you're writing verbs, that is not required. Only the factual information. For example, the office of CAG, any information concerning that, or the Chief Information Commissioner, if the selection committee for that has changed, what are the new members? Only that much information. Rest everything, the static component is mentioned in the Lakshmikant, which we have already discussed, we'll revise it at least 5 times. So when you have read it 5 times at least, and for those who are appearing for 26, that 5 becomes 15. Right? So that is the secret. Just very simply, just keep doing it again and again without complicating the matters. So once you make the notes out of current affairs, let's assume for 25 attempt, anybody has started making notes still? Or you are yet to start? Yet to start? Started? You're making notes? All of you? If you are making notes, that's absolutely appreciable. Even if you have not made notes as of now, I would recommend you, because the time is less, get to action very soon. Or there is a strategy which I can tell you, but for that, you need to have a team. Have a friend circle of 3 to 4 people who are absolutely committed in clearing the exam. Suppose 150 page is the monthly current affair compilation. And if I have to make notes, maybe I'll make it in 4 days for 1 month, or maybe 1 week for 1 month. Suppose if we divide the labor, I tell him that you make the notes for June, you make for July, you make for August, and I'll make for September. So in the effort of 1 week, we'll have notes of 4 weeks, 4 months. Quite possible? So that is one way of doing it. For those appearing in 26, you can start maybe in January. From January onwards, be consistent and start making notes. The only thing is the notes should not exceed 30 to 40 pages at max. The more elaborate, the less the revision. The less the revision, the less you remember in the exam. The less you remember in exam, more likely the chances of you flunking the exam. Okay, don't do it. Anybody has any doubts regarding the current affairs element of prelims? Notes kaise banane hain? From where do we make, or how do we make? Anybody having any doubts? Feel free to ask. Crystal clear? नींद आ रही किसी को? Looks like that. Be a little active. You want me to get you running? Don't force me to come to the military style. Okay? Okay. So, prelims, static portion is done. Current affairs is done. Now the third portion as asked by you, what to do with the mock tests. Mock tests are an integral part of your preparation, both for prelims and mains. Target as many mock tests as possible. For example, we discussed a plan for prelims 25. So from the first week itself, start attempting 2 mocks every week for the beginning. And let me tell you, when you write your mocks, you will not score good marks. Very unlikely chances that from the beginning you will score very good marks. But as I told you, we are all a process in the making. You might not score good in first, you might not score good in 10th, you might not score good in 16th, but by 20, 25 and 30, when you write your 30th mock, you will have practiced 3000 questions. 3000 questions and 3000 into 4, 12,000 options, because every question has 4 options. So you would have read 12,000 factual content or questions. So that is the value of mocks. There is no specific number of mocks to be attempted. And let me tell you, mock questions that we attempt are generally tougher than the original UPSC paper. Why is that? Because mocks get too much factual. Why? Because the institutes who are making them, they are supposed to make 50 to 100 questions every year, question papers every year. So if suppose let's assume they are making 50 questions for this particular session. 50 means 5,000 questions. And maybe if they are out of the shortlisted questions, so they have to get 10,000 questions ready, and out of that they have to select 5,000 questions. But when it comes to UPSC, for the entire year, they only have to make 1 paper. So they will tell the professors of universities, of subject matter experts, that you take your time and make a very good and comfortable paper. So don't get confused that mocks you are not able to score well. Mocks have a specific reason why do we do it. Now, what is the aim behind doing mocks and what is the thing that we have to derive out of it? The first and the most important thing why do we attempt mocks is to be comfortable sitting 2 hours practicing, because it should not happen that we have not practiced and when we actually go in the examination, after half an hour we are feeling that we cannot sit for 2 hours. Anybody who has an attention span of only 15 minutes, 20 minutes, after studying for half an hour we feel like we need a break? How many of you? It happens. But once you start practicing it, suppose you have practiced 50 mocks before you go. So at least the first aim that is met is you can comfortably sit for 2 hours duration. It will not be a pain for you. So that is the first aim. We should know why we are doing it. So first, everybody is clear, why do we attempt mocks? What is the first reason? To be comfortable sitting for 2 hours. Now once you are comfortable, now the second most important thing why we attempt mocks is to arrive at that specific number of questions we are going to attempt in the final exam. There may be certain people, I have met a few of my friends who are into the services. They attempt 60, 65 questions and get 63 right. For me, that's not the case. I may need to, for getting same number of marks, I might have to attempt 90, 95. So the second aim behind doing mocks is, what is the safe number for qualifying the prelims for GS? How many marks you need to get for GS to be safe? 100 we can say. So if you get 100 or maybe 105, generally it has not crossed 100 for last 5-6 years. So 100 would be a safe number to bet. So if you have to target 100, mock will help you identify for crossing 100 how many questions you have to attempt. So that will come with a little bit of practice. Maybe by first, because the questions when you start attempting mocks, most of them will be sectional mocks. They will be subject wise. For example, paper 1 entirely geography, or maybe a few chapters of geography. Paper 2 the remaining chapters of geography. Paper 3, complete geography. Like that with all subjects. So once you reach the full length tests, then you will realize that, okay, this is the exact number which I need to attempt so as to cross 100. So that is the second aim behind attempting mocks. Now the third aim is you have to maintain a record for the mocks. For example, make a table on your copy, serial number, subject of which the mock is, total number of questions attempted, total questions which are correct, total questions which are wrong, and the final marks. Every paper that you attempt, just write down that. It will take you hardly 5 seconds to note down this entire thing. But why it will help you? Suppose you are now on the mock number 20. So if you have attempted 20, so I assume you might have attempted 2 to 3 papers of almost all subjects. Maybe first 3 will be geography, then history. History maybe there may be modern, then ancient and medieval, maybe then economy, then the other subjects. So once you go through the chart of 20 question papers, 20 mock tests that you have arrived, you will see that when you attempt polity, you are very comfortable, you are getting very good marks. Maybe in geography also you are getting very good marks. But when it comes to economy or when it comes to ancient history, your marks are not very good. So that helps you identify which are your strong points and which are your weak points. So that is the third aim of attempting mock tests. The more you practice, the more you will realize this is what I am lacking in. For example, ancient history, let's assume ancient history, then we work more on the ancient history. So that is the third aim of attempting mock tests. Now fourth and the most important thing about mock test is what to do with a mock test. How do we attempt it? I have told you what are the aims. Now how do we do it? What is the process? Suppose I take a question paper. First thing is just sit on the table and chair exactly like you would sit in the final exam. Sit down, set your clock and sit for 2 hours. Generally mock test will be completed by 1.5 hours or 1 hour 40 minutes. It will not take 2 hours because I told you reason, it is more of a factual information. It is not that well designed as compared to the original UPSC exam. But anyway, I told you why do we need to do it, despite being different. The aim is that. Now sit for 2 hours or 1.5 hours, finish it. Take a 10-minute break, 15-minute break, and then is what actual process starts. This attempting the paper was not important. It is okay. But what follows is the important part. Because once you see the mock tests, after the mock test, you will find the explanations for those 100 questions you have attempted. Now that is the most important exercise, and that will take, depending upon your speed, anywhere from 2 to 3.5 hours also. Initially it will take, and it is required to be done. Don't skip this process that I have attempted, then I attempt the next. At least for initial 20, 25, 30 tests, repeat this exercise very religiously. Now, once you start reading the explanation, you will see the question and you will see the answer. Suppose it is correct. So that's okay. You have sufficient knowledge. More focus on questions which you have did wrongly or attempted wrongly. Now, people ask me what is the analysis to be done. Analysis is, suppose you get a question wrong. See the explanation and try to identify whether it was a factual information which you did not read earlier. If it is that, then it is okay because you have not read it. Just make a note of it and keep it in your notes. Very crisply. Whatever notes you make, prelims, mains or any other stage, make sure the notes are very crisp. Okay. Now, if there is a question which is conceptually wrong, for example, somebody is asking you about geography, how do the monsoon winds flow, or something to do with the monsoons, or something which is conceptual in nature, and you have attempted that wrong. It means in that particular topic, your concepts are still not clear. Go back to your static source and read that. Try to understand the concept. So there are only two things. One is the concepts, another is the factual information. Factual information you may have read also, but you may have forgotten. It means more revision is required. Factual information which is entirely new, it's okay, you're not read it. How are you expected to know that? Just note down and move on. And the third thing is conceptually wrong. Conceptually wrong means you have read it, but somewhere your understanding is still lacking. So go back or maybe speak to the teacher and try to identify what is the shortcoming in your understanding of that particular topic. This is the entire exercise of attempting the mock test for the prelims. Anybody having any doubt regarding the general studies, static, general studies, static, current affairs and mocks? Anybody? Time period for? Like I told you, if you are doing it entirely on your own, so minimum, even if you are spending 1 hour every day, how many pages can you read in one hour? 10, 15? 10, 15? So if let's take it 15, 150 pages. You have to make notes also, 15 days for 1 month, only reading 1 hour every day. If you make it 2 hours, then 7 days, 7.5 days, 8 days. And if you are collaborating as a team, as I told, then within those 8 days, your notes for 4 months will be ready. Or if there are 10 people, so within 1 week, the entire year's current affairs will be done. So it depends upon how committed you are and how good a friend circle you have. Even if you don't have, you can collaborate together. Even you know that somebody is not your friend, but he or she is good in studies and wants to do well. Just form a circle. Remember, your friends are not the one who will tell you, let's go out and play when your exams are on the head. They are the ones who will tell you, you have the biggest examination of your life coming. You take care of your studies. I will even take care of your problems, your family problems. If anything comes, I am there for you. They are your friends. Just understand that. So we are clear with the prelims general studies part? Yes. If you are appearing for 25, then practically the newspaper, somewhere or the other, you have to stop reading, because newspaper generally, even if you're good with it, it will take minimum 1 hour. If you have sufficient time, there is no substitute for newspaper. But making notes out of newspaper is a very lengthy process. If you have a lot of time and you have been preparing and making notes since long, then it is okay. But if you have just started, then it is not advisable, because newspaper reading in itself will take you 1 hour, and then identifying those small bits of information and noting it, it might take another 1 hour. The same exercise is being done by a lot of institutes. They have the entire faculties for that. Why not utilize the things which are already available? So clear? Anybody else? Now we'll talk about CSAT. I will not talk about CSAT. You will ask me questions regarding CSAT and I'll answer, so that we get some involvement also and we get going. Please ask your queries regarding CSAT. How many years? 7, 8 years? How good are you with CSAT? For starting, it is okay, but you need to practice more. Feel free to ask questions. I am telling you again. Yes, please. Have you seen the BYQ? Okay, please settle down. So first, the most important thing for CSAT is go and see the PYQs. Don't even see the syllabus also. CSAT has a very simple strategy. And I know it better because I did not clear in 2021 just because of CSAT. So CSAT preparation has 2 important components. One is the preparation part, and the second is what you do with that preparation on the day of the examination. It might happen that this particular individual has practiced everything and you have practiced only 10 things. You might clear and he might not. Why is that? I'll tell you. Let's first talk about the exam, because once we understand this concept, then we'll come ki prepare kaise karna. CSAT, how many questions in total? 80 questions in 2 hours. Now let's see the distribution of these 80 questions. Around 28 to 30 questions are reading comprehension. In that, I think if you are good with the language, you don't need to worry much about it. And if you are not good with it, I don't know what to do. because you already read for 15 years. So you are expected to at least have some basic. All of you are comfortable with reading comprehension? So reading comprehension, let us assume that out of 30, you do all 30, and on a lower side, you get only 20 to 22 correct and 7 to 8 wrong answers. Am I expecting too much? It's reasonable. Anybody who is preparing for civil services and has basic knowledge of English or Hindi, he is expected to know at least this much, because if you don't know this much, how will you write the answers in mains? So let us assume out of these 30 questions, you have attempted all 30 and you have got 22 right. Okay. How many questions are we left with? 50. These 50 questions will be from mathematics and reasoning. Now, take this, that whenever you are appearing for something, whether it be CSAT examination or anything, or once you go to the interview stage also, before you start preparing, just go and sit in the chair of the examiner or the interviewer or the one who is going to set the CSAT paper. Now let me ask you, if you were given the responsibility of designing the CSAT paper, the distribution of these 50 questions of mathematics and reasoning, fully aware that in India we have a diverse background, diverse cultures, and people who have read mathematics, people who are from IITs, people who have never read mathematics, people who are totally rural background. So if I ask you, what would be the distribution of these 50 questions in terms of easy, medium and hard? What will be the distribution? How many questions? It will be a combination of all three. Some will be easy, some will be medium, and some will be difficult. If I ask you to set the paper, what would be the distribution? How many easy, difficult and medium? Anybody? Just wild guesses? 20 difficult. Okay. What about remaining 30? 50, 15 medium, 50 easy. Or let's take it to be a little bit favorable to the students. 15 difficult, 15 easy, 20 medium. This is the distribution. Maybe 1-2 question up and down, but broadly this will be the scheme. Now 50 questions in which 15 are difficult, 15 are easy and 20 are mid category. The entire challenge in CSAT is time. What I did in 21 attempt, I wasted my time on some questions which were taking a lot of time. And because of that, when 2 hours time was over and I flipped across the pages, there were so many easy questions which I could not even see. Questions which did not even require me to move my pen. I could have just read it and answered it. So this is the secret of CSAT. Everybody will tell you in all the rest of the examination that attemptation is the key. But here, letting go is the key. If you can identify these 15 difficult questions as soon as possible. How do we do that? We read a question. The first thing is, if it is a question which you have practiced or not, the first filter. If you have practiced, then it is okay. If you have not practiced, then absolutely no chance of wasting the time. Leave it. If you have practiced, then see whether you can solve it. If you are able to solve it in 1 minute, or you are almost on the verge of solving it in 1 minute, do it. Else, mark it round and move to the next question. This is the secret of qualifying CSAT. How? I'll tell you again. Suppose you are able to leave all the 15 questions and spend 15 minutes on that. 1 minute for each question. 15 difficult questions you have done away with. You are left with 35 easy and medium questions. In these easy questions, we were having 15 easy ones. 15 easy ones can I expect you to do in 15 minutes if they are easy? And out of the remaining 20 questions which are mid-level, can I expect at least 5 questions to be correct in that? So out of these 35 questions which are not hard, all we need to do out of these 35, if we are able to attempt even 20 or maybe 23, 4 or 25, and even if we get 15 correct or 16 correct, do you have mobiles? Do you have mobiles now? How many questions have you attempted? Comprehension, you have attempted 30. We got 22 correct and 8 wrong. And in mathematics, we attempted, let's assume 25 or 20 on a lower side, and we got 15 right and 5 wrong. So what is the net outcome? We have 37 right and 8 plus 5, 13 wrong. Kindly calculate 37 multiplied by 2.5 minus 13 multiplied by 0.833. Because CSAT, every correct answer fetches you 2.5 marks and every wrong answer deducts 0.833 marks. Anybody can tell me what is the final outcome? 80. So just by attempting round about 50 questions, leaving 15 difficult ones, and even getting 13 wrong answers also, you are getting 80 marks. And what do you need to clear? 67. How difficult is CSAT? Is it difficult? Only difficulty is we have to fight our ego. Suppose in this year's examination, there were questions on percentages. Very basic topic, but UPSC plays smart. In this basic topic, he had introduced some complication and people could not solve it. Suppose you waste 10 to 15 minutes on one question and you come across 3 questions of that nature. So you have wasted 45 minutes and you will not have done even one question, and you will start shivering in the examination hall that I have done really badly, and you will not be able to utilize the remaining 1 hour 15 minutes also. So this is what you need to first get in your mind before you start preparing for CSAT. This fundamental policy is clear to everybody? Anybody having any doubt regarding this? Uske baad we'll come on the preparation part. Clear everybody? Yes, please. That will come to the preparation part. I'll tell you that. Now her question is, non-math student, what do they do? If you are non-maths, can I expect you to be good in English? So out of 30, if I am giving them 22, can you attempt 25 correct answers? If you are getting 25, out of the remaining 50 questions, you only need to get 10 to 12 right answers. Ideally, if your accuracy is 100%, you will be able to qualify maybe by 27 or 28 questions only. Can you just divide 28 by, multiply 28 by 2.5? 28 multiplied by 2.5. 27 multiplied by 2.5. 67.5. So if you attempt only 27 and get all 27 right, you are through. This is what you need to realize. The game is not whether you are having maths background or not. Even if you are not having maths background, till 10th, we all have studied maths. Right? So basic questions we have to identify. At least 15 questions we are able to attempt, we will be very comfortable. Even if you attempt only 15 also. 20 plus 55, 22 plus 55, or maybe 25 plus 15. Is that clear? If you are clear with this one thing, your CSAT conduct on the day of the examination will be very comfortable. Now comes, how do we prepare? What is the source? There is no source which I have referred to. What you need to do, as she asked, go through the PYQs. First of all, in PYQs, whatever the topic you encounter, just make a list of it. When you make a list of the topics that are asked in the previous year question papers, make a list and you will come to know that at max there will be maybe 35 to 40 topics of mathematics and reasoning which are asked. For example, there may be a question on percentages, permutation and combinations, question on calendars, question on clocks, question on patterns. So just make a list. Once you have made a list of 40 topics, for example, if you are only practicing for 1 hour every day, practice one topic for 3 days. Quite reasonable, quite simple. If you do it every day, after 4 months, 120 days, 40 into 3, 120. So in 4 months, you will have done all the topics of CSAT which have been asked previously. And once you have done that, after that, it's all about the more the number of questions you practice, the better it is for you. But practice with a very clear strategy that why you are doing this and what is the requirement of the exam. Clear? Anybody having any doubts regarding CSAT still? CSAT is not a complex thing. CSAT is complex because we may have practiced everything, like I told you. He may have practiced everything, all topics, and he may be an IIT graduate. There are people from IIT who have failed CSAT. That is because people take it lightly, and even if they don't take it lightly, on the day of the examination, they keep fighting with one question. That is to be avoided. So once you go for giving CSAT examination, just mark my words, remember these words. CSAT strategy is not about attempting, it is about letting go. Just as in life, happiness lies in not holding on to things, but letting them go. So the more you let go, the more number of questions. If you are able to reach the question number 80, I have not been able to reach till date. If you are able to reach question number 80, how will you reach? By skipping more number of questions. If you reach 80 means you have at least seen one question one time. And mathematics and reasoning, you are hardly required to attempt 20 correct. So it is your understanding whether you want to attempt mathematics first or reasoning first. Some people prefer reasoning first. Some people prefer comprehension first. It is up to you. But the whole point was to tell you what is the exact distribution. Anybody having any doubts regarding the prelims so that we skip to the mains now? Anybody? Okay. Now, mains preparation starts. Some people ask that when do we start the answer writing? Now the answer is depending upon people, it may vary. But my approach is, suppose you want to run a distance of 42 kilometers, marathon. What is the ideal time to start? Whether you want to start once you have a good enough stamina, or you want to start today and run maybe 500 meters, 1 kilometer every day and slowly build up. Slowly build up. So for those who are giving in 26 and beyond, right from today, can I expect you to find yourself 15 minutes every day? Just 15 minutes? 15 minutes, write 2 questions every day. Irrespective of the quality that you write, irrespective of the content that you write, irrespective of the structure that you write. Just write anyway. Only thing to be ensured is you write 2 questions in 15 minutes. Let me tell you, in the mains examination, again like CSAT, the question is not of knowledge. Everybody who is sitting there, or 90% of those who are sitting there, almost have the same knowledge. But how effectively we are able to translate that knowledge in the limited time period of 3 hours is what decides who ends up in the final list. Is that clear? So that is the most important thing. There are GS, if we talk about GS, there are 2 types of questions, 10 marker and 15 marker. 10 questions of 10 marks, 10 questions of 15 marks. The 15 marker are 250 words, that is 3 sheets, 1, 2 and 3. And the 10 marker are 150 words, only 2 sheets, 1 and backside. That is the only content that you get to write, how much you may know. So first thing that you need to fight is time management. And I told you in the beginning, anybody who gets 50% of the marks is in the top 100 at least. So even if you know basics only, you have read basics, but within the limitations of the time, you are able to attempt all 20 questions with basic content, equally presentable. Can I expect you to get at least, in GS, we do not even require 50% of the marks. If the question paper is of 250 marks, the toppers in GS 1, 2, 3 do not even touch 100. 95, 100 is the toppers marks in GS 1, 2 and 3. So that is even less than 45%. So that is something that you need to identify. The first thing is start writing, start practicing. Now I've told you the sources of static portion that we have studied in prelims. Bulk of the static portion for the mains also is the same. Bulk of it is same. Now what we do with the remaining topics? First of all, download a detailed syllabus of GS mains from any good website in which all topics are given. Now let us take GS1 first up. By now you have read all the static components. What are the static components in GS1? History, geography, society. These are the three main things. Art and culture a little bit. History, art and culture and geography. Bulk of it you have already read in the prelims. Now when you go through that syllabus, it will take you maybe 3-4 days for the entire GS1, 2 and 3. Day 1, just sit for GS1. Make a list of all those topics which have not been covered in the prelims static portion. For example, geography, the distribution of key natural resources and factors responsible for location of industries. This is one topic which is not read in prelims. Again, the topics on society, generally not read in prelims. Make a list of all these topics in one sheet, or maybe open a separate book for GS1 and write all these topics. For GS1, it will not be more than 20-25 topics, which are not covered in the static portion. You noted it? Now move on to GS2. Again, GS2, most of things are in Lakshmikant. But other than that, there are significant number of topics which are not in Lakshmikant. Again, go to that syllabus. There are two main components. One is the IR, another is the governance. So the IR portion, there are very good compilations coming from various institutes. Pick any one of them. Either just read from that or make notes out of it. For those who are appearing in 26, you can even refer to the 25 material. Just make notes out of it. And whatever the additions you find in the 26 edition, just one liner to, because what does IR contain? International relations. In that, suppose it mentions India-US relations. And you are making notes in 25. And you are appearing in 26. So 25 December, you are up to date. In the next 6 months, at max, what will happen between India and US? 1 or 2 agreements. Those agreements, when you read the next year's edition, you will find it on the top. Just from there, note down on your notes. So GS2, IR, covered from any compilation. Governance and other topics, just like we did in GS1, make a list of all those topics. And then, again for the GS3, similar exercise. Whatever you have read in static portion, other than that, go to the syllabus and read all and make a list of all the topics. Now coming back to GS1. Now you have made a list, maybe 20-25 topics in GS1, maybe 40-40 topics in GS2 and 3. Now is the most important exercise. Just Google it and make only one page notes. One page means front side and back side. Or at max, one more sheet. Why only one page? Because that is the space given to you in the answer sheet. Why will you write so much which you will not be able to copy in the exam? So suppose 20 topics of GS1, you make one topic every day. 20 days you are done with GS1. Let's assume you take 1 month. So 1 month, entire GS1 main syllabus is done. Suppose those of you appearing in 26, so 1st of January you start that, by end of January GS1 is done. By spending only, maybe 1 hour is too much I am saying, because we are only preparing one topic every day. But let's take it 1 hour also. You are preparing one topic in 1 hour. Reading it and very beautifully, just noting it down very crisply. Again, February you start with GS2. We have 40 topics. Let's take it 45-50 topics. You take February, you take March. So by the end of March, just by spending 1 hour every day and making only one topic every day, you are done with GS2 also. And similarly with GS3. So by maybe April end or May, your entire mains syllabus for GS 1, 2, 3 will be done. Anybody having questions regarding GS 1, 2, 3? Mains. And in addition to this exercise which is going on, now, till now what we have been able to cover, all portions of static which are in the books, we have been able to cover. All portions of mains which is not in the books, we have been able to cover. Current affairs we have been reading every day. Current affairs the same applies. जो आप prelims के लिए कर रहे हैं, similar for mains. Once you read from there, you segregate what is important for pre and what is important for mains. And how do you do it? How do you come to know what is important for pre and what is important for mains? PYQs. Prelims, it is more of a factual content. But mains, you will be asked, suppose there is an amendment in the environment laws. So what are the amendments? There is amendment in the IPC. What are the amendments? Just note down the points. All those things are to be noted. GS 1, 2, 3, any doubt? So that we move to GS 4 and essay. Anybody? All clear until now? Anybody sleepy? Anybody wants to go out? Anybody wants to shout? Anybody wants to sing? Anybody a good singer here? You want to sing? Okay. We'll have it in a while. That will be a part of the personality test. We have only reached the mains. Once we reach there, we'll definitely have the honor of calling Akhil on stage. Now, we are talking about GS 4 and essay paper. Now, it is important again to understand essay and ethics preparation is kind of teamwork. What you prepare for essay, you will use in ethics. What you prepare for ethics, you use in essay. Before you start preparing for ethics, before you start preparing for essay, let's first talk about ethics. Don't do anything, just go to the PYQs. Don't read any source blindly, because there is no one particular source which will help you with ethics or essay. First, just go through previous 3-4 years question paper, that what kind of questions are being asked. You need to identify. You will only be able to read and you will only be able to compile once you know what is the requirement. So just first step is go through the PYQs. We are talking about ethics now. Suppose you go through last 4 years question paper and you identify, first identification is, in the ethics paper there are 2 types of questions. First is theory based questions and the other is case studies. 13 questions theory based, 6 questions of case studies. Now, in ethics theory based questions, there is a lot of diversity of questions being asked. Once you go through the PYQs, you will analyze that the bulk of it, ethics is something which everybody will be able to answer. What will enrich your answer is the number of examples, the number of anecdotes, the number of quotations that you use and how relevant they are. So for ethics and essays, start compiling examples and quotations. How do you know what examples and quotations to note? The first step was question papers. Now go to the Google and download a few toppers answer copies of people who have scored 130 or maybe 120 beyond that in ethics paper. Read their answers, how they have written it. What is it, the content they have used? For example, go through the answer sheet of All India rank 1 in 2021, Shruti Sharma. Just go through her answer sheet. You will realize she has used almost 7 to 8 to 10 examples in every single question. And that is the reason she got, I think, 130, 140 marks in ethics paper. Similarly, just identify 2-3 toppers and first of it, see what is the content that they are writing in the theory and in the case studies. Once you know, yes, this is the example. For example, some of the examples will be historical examples. And let me tell you, all of us as we sit today, we have a lot of examples in our head, but we don't know how to use them. For example, all of us are aware about Ramayana, Mahabharata, about the Indian freedom struggle, about your own family struggles, about people who inspire you in your lives, about general athletes who are doing good, which we read in the news, about film stars who are doing good work, about other sectors, people who are doing well. So all these examples are already there in us. For example, there is a question on courage. You can write examples of people you know. How many of you know Captain Vikram Batra? Heard of him? How many of you know Bhagat Singh? Most of you. How many of you know about Mahatma Gandhi? All of us know. So these examples are already within us. For example, there is a question on some kind of empathy or love. Who is stopping you from quoting your own mother's example? right? So start thinking that ways. Once you read history, you read 3 different eras: ancient, medieval, and modern. In these history of 2000 years, you come across thousands of names. Who's stopping you from using those names, right? So see the answer copies of toppers and identify what is it that they are writing. Once you identify what is it they are writing, then start compiling that data, similar data. For example, somebody has mentioned about some initiatives taken by civil servants across the country who are, or maybe examples regarding people who have won the Padma Shri awards, Padma Vibhushan awards. You can easily find that data in the internet. Just start noting down those examples. For those of you who are reading newspaper, you come across a lot of inspiring stories every day in the newspaper. So you can quote those examples. Similar is the case with quotations. So this is the basic fodder which you will use in the both essay as well as make a fact book which contains all these information, both quotes, anecdotes, examples, and make it a fact book which is common to both essay and ethics. So that once you start writing that, you can use that. Again, for ethics and essay also refer to some topper copies and identify how are they building up the essay. Because unless you know what is a good essay, how will you write one? Unless you know, how many of you like tea here? I've been really impressed by the standard of tea in Hyderabad. It's really, really great flavor and taste. I am a great tea lover and I've been here for last 4 or 5 days, but it's been one heck of experience having the tea from Hyderabad. But the point is, if you don't know what is a good tea, how will you make one? Right? So similarly, if you don't know what's a good essay, what's a good answer, how would you be expected to make one? So just first identify what is a good one. Now the other content regarding you can refer to any standard source and don't read it blindly. Now you have read the PYQs. Now you know what the toppers are writing. From that standard source, just extract the important material, which you think will be just in line with what the toppers had written. And once you have done this exercise, after that, the more the answers you write, the better you will get. So this is entirely about the GS essay. We are left with the optional part of mains. Optional, mine optional is philosophy. Anybody with philosophy here? Okay. So I won't be able to tell you much about your individual optionals. All of you have finalized the optionals? Anybody who is yet to finalize? When are you appearing? When are you appearing? 26. So you have time. You? Somebody else also here raised their hand? 26. So you are yet to finalize? Okay. So first let me tell you how to finalize an optional. First thing and the foremost criteria for finalizing the optional is your interest. Because if you don't like having tea, you will not be able to have tea for the entire year. Right? If I love tea, I will have 5 times a day. But if I don't, I will not have even 1 time a day. Right? An optional is something which we are required to read every day or maybe most of the time for a long period of time. It is a long association. And it is something which will actually help you to get your name in the final list. Right? So first and the foremost criteria is your interest factor. If you ask me, though I am a technical graduate, I have done BTech, but if you tell me to take a technical subject, then I will not be able to get more than maybe 50 marks. Okay, so first criteria is interest. You should like that subject. You should love your association with that subject. When you read that subject, you should feel that you are loving it. That is the first criteria. Second criteria is identify, suppose you are confused between anthro and philosophy. Just go to the Google and identify past 5 years or 6 years trend in anthropology and philosophy or whatever optional you are confused with. Second thing is that whether you are getting those marks or not. Generally, what is the Like if broadly people are getting more than 270 to 80 very comfortably, it's a good option. If people are 1 or 2 is getting more than 270 and bulk of them are getting 250 and lower than that, then you might reconsider that. So that is second criteria. And the third criteria is you should have study material available for that. Because you might like it, but you don't know what to study. So that is the third criteria, that you should have enough study material available, and also the length of the syllabus. What is the length? It should not happen that the optional is so huge that it compromises on your GS. So these are some of the factors which can help you decide an optional. Anybody who still wants to know how to, or any doubts regarding how to go about choosing an optional, or specific questions regarding that, you can go through PYQs for both anthropology and philosophy. Just read PYQs, read a bit of toppers answer copies, and see that can you imagine yourself writing such answers. If you think that it is reasonably possible for you, you can go for that. That is the only way you can test yourself in that. Anybody else? Yes, please. I am a very kind of unique case because I never had the limitation of, I never had the freedom of time. Since I told you, even till my attempt in which I got the railway service, I was in the army. So for me, yes, interest was the prime factor. I have always, because philosophy deals with questions like, what is truth? What is God? What is human? What is soul? All these questions. So these questions as a child also intrigue us. So that was one factor. Second factor was philosophy is relatively less bulky. It is a very short syllabus. If you have the notes compiled, so you might be able to revise it in 1 week or 10 days very comfortably. So that was the other factor. These are the two main factors why I chose this. Time was the most important because I never had that liberty of a lot of time. That is the reason. You can choose any optional. The point is, once you have taken a decision that this is what I am going to play with, there's no looking back. I often say, look back and you are dead. So take a decision. Once you've taken a decision, there's no turning back. Any other questions related to optional? What are the options that people have here? Just let's. And everybody has spoken, but I am not able to understand one word. How many with sociology? Okay. How many with anthropology? Geography? Geography. PSIR? Okay. Public administration? Telugu literature? Anybody? Okay. Any optional that I have missed? Which you have? So whatever the optional you have, make sure that first and foremost, you have your own handwritten notes ready for that optional. Because there is no substitute for your handwritten notes. If you have made them, first thing is, if you write something, so you would have written only after reading that a considerable number of times. And the second thing is, it will help and save a lot of revision time. Because own notes will be revised very comfortably and very swiftly. Anybody, any other questions regarding mains? We've almost covered all topics regarding mains. Answer writing also. Once, like those who are appearing for 26, so I mentioned if you start writing today, 2 questions every day. So by the end of 2025, let's take 31st of December, 2025. Still we have around about 380 or 400 days. Precisely we have 382 or 83 days. So if you write 2 answers every day, by the end of 25, you will have written 700 answers or maybe 800 answers. And in the entire mains, you will be required to only write how many? 24 is 80, 120 questions, 120 answers, barring the language papers. Only 120 questions you will be required to write. And by 25, you will have already written 6 times that. As compared to somebody who does not write. And maybe by till November you can write. And in December of 2025, you can start attempting the full length papers. Or even before that, if you feel that preparation is okay now, you can start writing full length. Everybody clear about it? Any questions regarding mains? Now what is the thing left? Personality test. What is the personality? Or what is the personality test all about? What it will test according to you? Sorry? Okay. One is we have to showcase our character. What next? Presence of mind, yes. Spontaneity, yes. Situation awareness, yes. Decision making, yes. So personality is actually everything that comes to your mind. Now, as I told you in the beginning, before you start wondering about preparing for the personality test, imagine you are 60 years old, you are a member of the UPSC and you are there in the panel. You are the chairman of the panel. And here we have a strength of 100 plus, and there they will be interviewing round about 2,500, 3,000 candidates, or maybe if we divide that per board, maybe 500, 600 candidates. So what is it that you will differentiate on what basis you will differentiate? Suppose you are taking the interview and all these students come one by one to you. Most of them will have the same knowledge because they have qualified the mains. Most of them who are serious aspirants will be reading the same newspapers. What will it that you will differentiate them on? Yes? Uniqueness, yes. Uniqueness is one factor. Confidence, yes. Confidence is the most important factor. Even more important than the confidence is the honesty and integrity. You cannot come across as somebody who is or who can easily be questioned on his honesty. Suppose you are asked a question regarding something you have written and you start lying to them. For example, there are people who fill DAF and activities. When we fill a detailed application form, they might write something which they have not done in life. So that is the first step which should not be done. Now if you have done that and you have not done adequate research, now since you are a part of the panel and you have 60 years of age and with 30 to 40 years of experience, so we have 5 members in the panel and each one close to 60 years. So total 300 years of experience is sitting in front of you, and you think you can fool them? Have you ever been able to fool your parents? So how do you expect to fool them? This is not a good idea. So first and the foremost, most important thing is integrity and honesty. If you did a mistake, for example, there may be a question like, why did you, if there is a break year between maybe 10th and 12th or after 12th to graduation, and it was because you did a mistake, something, you were not that serious, just admit it. Honestly, sir, that was the time I was swayed by emotions and I was not very focused in life. Be very honest about it. Honesty will only help you, it will not backfire. That is for sure. Now the question is, let's assume that we are all a member of panel and a candidate walks in front. So the interview starts right at the moment the candidate opens up the door. And what is the first thing that he says? Good morning, sir. May I come in? Right? So that first moment when you interact, that first impression should not come across, as I told you, you are the youngsters of this great country. You should not come across as somebody who is weak, who is underconfident, who is shy. If you are young, you should look and you should behave like one. You should have energy of the youth. So once you open up the door, very confidently, you do not have to shout so that they get hurt, but in a voice which is loud enough. Now the way I am speaking, it is loud enough that everybody can comfortably hear. But if I raise the decibels a little bit, it might start getting offensive for you. Or if I am too low, it might say that I am underconfident. So that is the reason I am telling you that start today. If you ask a question, have the confidence to stand up, raise your hand and say very loudly and confidently. It will not come in a day, but if you practice it every day, within no time you will be there. So the first is, may I come in, sir? How confidently you walk in. Then the panel will say, yes, please come in. Then you walk a finite number of maybe 5-6 steps till the chair. Again, same thing, you are young. You should not walk like an old man or an old woman. You are supposed to be upright, chin up, and walking very confidently. And you should not be shivering like this. So that will come with practice. Like you are here, come on the stage and speak something on a daily basis. Interact with a lot of people. So once you are standing behind the chair, just stand very, very comfortably with your hands behind, and then wait for them to say that please sit, or if they don't say, just very comfortably ask and politely, so may I please sit. Once you are sitting, that is when your actual interview starts. But even these 5-6 seconds before that are something which gives them the impression. Though it can be changed, but why to give a negative impression in the first place? Right? Now once you sit there, until now it was about your body language, about the way you walk, but now it is how comfortable you are sitting to them, sitting in front of them, and how comfortable you are talking to them. Let me tell you, interview will not be judged on the basis of your knowledge. Interview is not a test of your knowledge, because most of the candidates who have qualified the mains have adequate knowledge. In fact, even those who have not qualified the mains, they have adequate knowledge. But the point is how good you are to talk to them. It should be like the moment you get up and walk out of the interview room, they all should smile and tell and have a conversation that this was one heck of a candidate. We enjoyed having a conversation with him or her. So that is what is the aim. And how do you achieve that? If you talk to somebody, your heart feels happy. You should be that individual. So first thing is confidence. Work on your communication skills. That is the reason I am insisting that stand up and speak. Stand up and speak, because nobody else will tell you this. In this year's interview, I have got 210 marks in the interview. And that is because, not that I have specifically prepared for the interview, that is because for years since I was a child, I have been working on my personality. Now we can't go back to your school days, but at least we can start today, right? So that is why I want all of you to work on your communication skills. It may be Hindi, it may be English, but the point is, you should be confident enough. Now, what do we do to improve the communication skills, right? On a daily basis, 10 to 15 minutes, whatever you're reading, maybe history, polity, newspapers, read loudly like the news readers do. Initial stage, just open up the book and start reading loud. After 1 month, start improvisation. Intonations. There are times when we need to go a little loud, then a little soft. So start learning that. Listen to people who speak well. Go to the YouTube, listen to good speeches. That what is it? What makes a good conversation? But practice every day, just 15 minutes. If you start doing it today, you will not even realize, even if you are appearing for 25, your interview will come around earliest by January of 26. So bare minimum, you still have 1 year plus. Again, 365 days of 15-minute practice every day will land you in so much advantage that most of others will not have. But let me tell you with my experience, not many of you will actually do it. That is the problem. Some of you may do it today, or maybe tomorrow, maybe 1 week, but then you will forget about it. And once you forget about it, don't expect the communication skills to automatically improve. It is what we do every day. That is what will make the difference. And you will not be able to realize how changed you have become. Every day you will not be able to observe, but maybe 3 months from now, you will say that I am a much better communicator now. All of you understand the importance of communication. If today I am standing here, am I able to convey what I am telling you? Why is that? Because I have practiced on the communications. It is not that we are required to speak some English or maybe British accent. That's not required. We are Indians, we can speak with our own accent. But the point is, we have to speak confidently, flawlessly. That is what is expected. Now the second thing about interview is just start building your personality. Communication is just one part of the personality. Important. Why? Because most of what you are will be presented through what you speak. And even if when you go on to become civil servants, suppose you go on to become a police service, in the police service or the administrative services, you would be required at times to deal with mobs. If you do not have the skills to speak up among the audiences, how will you convince them to throw violence and come to the negotiation table? So communication is highly underrated, but it is very important skill. Other than the communication, external factors, what you wear, not very prominent, but generally dress very decently, decent colors, sober colors, and be nice, nothing flashy. That is the external thing. Will not matter much, but why to even take a chance? Then the other thing is, what are the other facets of your personality? Personality is not just about walking or speaking. It is about what you think, what kind of people you interact with, what kind of conversations you have. So from today, start thinking about it. Because if you have to be an officer, first learn to think like one. Because it is the thoughts that every single day, when reinforced, will make you a champion. Champions are not made overnight. People do say that this particular individual or ex-individual has become a champion or sensation overnight. But they do not look at the years of hard work and toil that has gone into it. In the military parlance, there is a very famous quotation which says, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So for you, what is the war? War is the UPSC personality test. We are talking about that. So right now is the time of peace, when there is no war. This is the time to train yourself. Train yourself so much that people are amazed that how come a boy or a girl from the remote hamlets of Telangana or Andhra, they are here and have caught us in so much of amazement. And that is what will fetch you marks. Your uniqueness, as he mentioned, your energy, your vibrance that you're giving. Doesn't matter if you do not answer some of the questions. In my case, I was asked a few questions regarding Jammu Kashmir. I was asked about General Zorawar Singh. I had a very brief information about him. But I admitted, sir, I'm not very sure about it. I've not read about it. I still got 210 marks. So that tells you that interview is not about factual information. It is about that feeling that you give to them, that this candidate is a promising candidate. He actually has a fire in him to work for the society. And he actually is honest. Work on these things, and not just for the civil services. Wherever you go on in life, these things will always help you stay comfortable and stay confident. Any questions regarding the personality test? I've tried to cover most of the aspects. But as of now, if you want to focus just on one thing, just work on the communication skills. The rest of the things will have to be done, but this is the most important one. Anybody else? Why is there so much shyness in asking the questions? That nervousness is there, that people will judge you, or you know everything, that there are no doubts in your mind. Is there anybody who knows everything? Socrates says that the first step towards knowledge is to know that I know nothing. Nobody knows anything. We are just a small speck in the dust, small drop in the huge ocean of knowledge. So if you have any doubts, feel free to ask. I'll keep insisting you, because I believe civil services, as I told you, is just a small part of the journey. You are not born to be small. You are born to actually make the difference. It is not that you will become a civil servant, clear this one examination, and life will thank you or the Indians will thank you. It is what you do after that. What you do with the service allotted to you. What you do in the finite time that you have in life, and what positive changes you are able to bring to the people of the country or the people of the state. That is what you will be remembered for. And that is what I want all of you to take home today. Preparation, everybody will tell you what to study, what not to study. But that thing that you are here, not just for yourself, but that Chetwood credo, nation first, always and every time. And myself last, always and every time. Just remember that. When I speak to young citizens of India, I see in all of you lions and lionesses. Sher or Shernia. To behave like one. You are not born to be what we call meek, geathered. You are not geathered. What do we call geathered in English? I'm not sure. Whatever we call it. But you are not born to be that. Since we are not concerned about what is that, so we will not focus on that. But what I want all of you is to start believing that all of you are champions or are cubs who are lions and lionesses in the making. Clear, everybody? Any questions? Yes, please.
Is it okay to admit your mistakes, or we should not show our negative prospects?
Nobody is perfect. I told you, honesty will always pay you back. Whatever the reason, tell them, sir, this is what happened and this is the reason that I failed. But add to it, the fact that I admit my mistakes is the first step towards my improvement. And I worked on myself, and the fact that now I am sitting for the interview after having qualified the mains is a testimony to the fact that I have improved. You have to back it up with your explanation. Nothing is right or wrong that you do in life, as long as you are able to justify in the interview panel. Not that I tell you to go and murder somebody and then justify it. That's only going to land you in prison and not in UPSC. But I'm talking about the small mistakes, that the career mistakes that we do make, or the choices in terms of the subjects. That's totally fine. We are all bound to make mistakes. But make mistakes, fall down, and rise up every time. Any other questions, please? Yes, please. They didn't ask me that, because maybe they were aware that I have already faced those situations on ground. It is just to check your presence of the mind. Those questions which they'll ask, you have written those questions in ethics case studies. For example, they'll ask you, you are a district magistrate of a particular district, and this particular thing happens. Or maybe there is a project in which one of the parties to the tender is your own relative. How will you respond to that? So that is something I think everybody of us is aware, that we have to go by the rules. We have to go by what the Constitution says, what the rules say. That is the most important thing. Other than that, nothing else matters. Confidence and clarity of the action to be taken. Of course, they will understand that you are not yet into the services, so you are not aware what is the exact mechanism that takes place here. But generally, based on what you have read, what you have prepared for, and a common sense, a common logic, that is the requirement. Anybody else? The mock interviews is entirely your call. You can attend, you cannot attend, it's up to you. But yes, if you want to have an exposure, it does give you an exposure, because it will give you that simulation of the environment of the actual interview. Though it may not be the exact, sometimes, because panelists may be good, panelists may not be good, but generally they're good enough. So if you feel you have a little bit of nervousness, or you want to just test yourself how you perform among a group of people, so there's nothing wrong in going there. It will only help you, it will not backfire. But only thing is, when they give the feedback for the interview, be wise enough what to take and what not to take. That is the most important thing. Anybody else? Boys do not have any doubts? Hardly any questions from the boys? Or they are already become lions? शेर बन चुके हैं already? या बनना भी? अभी बनना है, अभी बने नहीं है. So let's not talk about the study abhi. Any other doubts regarding life or any other things that you're facing? If you feel you want to ask, I would happily be able to answer if you are willing to ask the question. Not related to studies, just any other questions that you think are important. Can you please be a little loud? Disputes. What kind of disputes? A dispute like altercation with maybe a friend of yours or somebody. Avoid that. You cannot convince a fool. And if you want to be productive in life, don't get into a dispute. Because at the first place, anybody who is having a little bit of wisdom will understand the nuances and he will not participate in a dispute. But yes, there are certain issues which require, or there may be some kind of issue involved. So that involves communicating the thing. If you think that some kind of communication is leading to a dispute, have a break, take some time off, then come back and very politely just first ask that individual what are your grievances. Ask him very politely and then request him that I also have certain grievances, let's come at a common point. If it is important, otherwise it's just a futile issue, better to avoid it. Because we cannot waste our time and energy on things which will not matter 5 months from now or 5 years from now. If you think there is something very urgent and very important which will impact the trajectory of your life, then there's nothing wrong with it. Is it okay? Anybody else? Any issues that anybody facing? I told you, you are preparing for civil services for country. If you understand that responsibility, whenever you get distracted, just remind yourself that you are taking the country behind. That will automatically pinch you that you are getting distracted and distracting the country's progress. Very simple way to. Somebody asked me about the consistency thing also. How do we stay consistent? Now, there's a very simple exercise that I always recommend, and I will recommend the same to you also. Every day when you go to sleep, just before that, spare 5 minutes for yourself. And in those 5 minutes, ask these 3 questions to yourself, but answer it very honestly. Again, honesty has no substitute here. So first question is, what is it that I want to do in life? What is the aim of my life? Here the answer is crystal clear. You want to be civil servants as of now. Right? That is okay. Till this part, it was easy. Now the second question is where the honesty will come in. The second question is the aim that I have for my life and the activities that I have done from the morning till this point in the evening or at night, have it contributed even 1% to where I want to be? Have they pushed me closer to my dreams? If the answer is yes, pat yourself on the back and go to sleep soundly. But if you are honest, most of the times the answer will be no or a partial yes. If that is the case, sleep with the conviction and commit yourself that next morning you will get up maybe half an hour early or 1 hour early and make up for the lost time today. So if you repeat this process every day and are little bit sincere and honest with yourself, you will improve every day. Start writing your achievements in terms of the number of hours and the number of chapters or whatever you are reading. So once you document it, you will see your progress. Once you see your progress actually in a positive direction, it will motivate you to push it further. For example, day 1 you read 5 hours. Next, when you sleep, you target that next day I'll read 5 hours 15 minutes. Next day 6 hours, 7 hours, like that. It's not that you will reach 100 hours, but at least you will have a consistency of 8-9 hours. That is what consistency is. You will not be able to read 15 hours a day for 1 year. And if you do, instead of the examination center, you might land up somewhere else, which is not advisable. I would not advise you that, because we have to reach the day of the examination fully fit, sound, and in alert mental health. So that will only happen when we have time for study, when we have time for food, when we have some kind of physical exercise or some kind of walk going on, and also sound sleep. You cannot sleep for 4 hours for 1 year and stay consistent and stay healthy. You have to reach there with the overall development of the personality. Personality includes everything. Proper time management, healthy eating habits, healthy conversation habits, all these things are a part of that. So this is how you stay consistent. And motivation is something which will die down in 2 days. But it is discipline that will carry you through. And how do you stay disciplined? By this exercise that I've just told you. Just remember, if you do not undergo the pain of discipline today, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years from now, you will undergo the pain of regret. Some of you will have worked hard and go on to become civil servants. But if you do not stay disciplined today, then 10 years later you will complain that that particular boy or girl has become and I have not. Then you will regret. So that should not be. If you want to do it, give your 1 year, 2 year consistently and with absolute energy. You will definitely go and get through. That is the requirement. Any other questions, please? And it was my second option. Actually, I have an injury in the back, as I told you. So IPS was my second option. First was the IAS only. But because I had an injury, that is the reason it was a second option. Otherwise, I am totally comfortable with IAS, IPS or any other service. Because for me, we are in the service of the country and not the service of a particular service. Aim is to serve the country and not a particular cadre or a particular service. That should be clear to you. Somebody has said, if I'm not wrong, I think C.V. Raman or Shri Radhakrishnan has said, if your job is even to clean be a sweeper and clean a street, make sure that it is the cleanest in the world. So that is the thought process. That should be the thought process. Whatever department, whatever hierarchy, wherever you are, be the best in that. That is the only thing. Anybody else? Interview. So first question is, why after the army, after so long in the army, why civil services? So my answer was whatever I told you. Exact answer was that once I got injured, so I started actually thinking that I may not be able to contribute that effectively in the army because of the injury, because army has certain requirements. I could have continued and did my best, but that best would not have been close to my best. So I thought, instead of living a mediocre life and limping towards mediocrity, it is better that I aim for something in which my injury will also not be a limitation and the idea of service to the country will also not be hindered. So that was the thought process. Second one, regarding current affairs, you can say a lot of questions regarding Ukraine-Russia war. What are the lessons? Since I am from the army, the question was concerning the army, what are the lessons that you draw from that? Or the question I told you about the General Zorawar Singh. I simply had no answer because I have not read about him. So I told him, sir, I have not read much about him. The only information I have is that he was a general of the Dogra army and there is an auditorium named in the University of Jammu because I have participated in a debate there. That was the only thing I told him. And that was okay. Questions will be generally pertaining to your state, your detailed application form, your hobbies, your work experience, or current affair events, international relations. These are generally the broad themes of the questions. Anybody else? Yes. SSB, I've given 3 SSBs. The first one I gave was for the Air Force. I got selected. The Army, I got selected. Third one again for the Air Force, which was for the flying branch. And as per my calculation, that was the best SSB I gave. And in that SSB, nobody was selected. The entire batch was washed out. SSB, as per me, is just like any other personality test. It is not a test. It is not an examination. I always consider SSB to be a mirror, in which if you qualify the first day, you will get a chance to stand in front of that mirror for 5 days and come to know what you are. So I always went with that thought process and not with the thought process of competing with anybody. And let me tell you, life, if you want to be successful, don't compete with anybody. Compete with just one individual, and that is the one you see and you look in the mirror the first time you get up in the morning. If you can beat that individual in the mirror, beat him in terms of discipline, in terms of his lethargy, in terms of passions that stop him from being disciplined, if you can beat him and be better from what you are today, then you have won the game. So that was the thought process, and that is what I follow. That should be the mindset. Anybody else? Feel free. I am telling you again. There will definitely be questions popping up in your mind, because I do travel a lot and speak to a lot of students. Most of them then later contact me on Instagram, sir, I had a question I could not ask. So you can do that also, but it might take some time to get the answers. But if you want to work on the personality, right now is the time to take that initiative. Anybody else who has a question? Or should we wind? Yes, please. Plan B, right? If you ask me from the army point of view and from what I think, there's no plan B. What is the task of the forces? To safeguard the borders of the country. Is there any plan B to that? Can we say that we will not guard this and we'll go back? So likewise in UPSC also, if you have worked hard enough and with sincerity for 2 years, let me tell you, UPSC or no UPSC, that may not happen, but you will clear all the other examinations with the similar syllabus. So if you are sincere and you have worked hard for 2 years, you will not even require a plan B, because all you need to do is fill up the form and go for the examination. You will automatically get selected in a lot of other examinations which have similar syllabus. But the only requirement is you have to be sincere for that much of period. And the other thing is, in the UPSC preparation, once you have done hard work for the initial 2 years, you are not required to study full time uske baad. Then you can even work with a job, study with a job. You can take up a job and then start studying simultaneously, because once you have attained a certain degree of expertise, after that it's all about that small efforts that you have to make on a daily basis, because you know what is required to be done now. You have read everything. You just revise and just practice. Is that clear? Anybody else? No questions? Sleepy? Hungry? Hungry? Yes, no? Hungry? Somebody is saying yes, somebody is saying no. I'm not talking about food. Hungry for success. Hungry? Hungry? Okay. You should be. But hungry not in the negative sense, but taking it on your self-respect that you have entered a battlefield in which you will not come out without victory. So as I told you, all of you are lions and lionesses. I do write poems also, and there is a poem that I wrote, and I'd like to share the last stanza of the poem, which is, the title of the poem is, "You are a lion who is born to roar." I will just share that with you. This is actually a big poem, but this is just the last paragraph of that. It talks about that there will be problems in life, there will be impediments, but you are not born for the impediments, but you are born to be roaring as a lion. So it says that, on the sands of time, don't you wait. On the sands of time, don't you wait. Let it rain, even if it is meant to pour. Means there will be difficulties. There will be times, then there will be problems. So let it rain, even if it is meant to pour, because you are a diamond who is invincible to the core. However dark the night means there will be failures. However dark the night, your infinite soul will take you to the shore. What if there are mountains in the oceans? Mountain means obstacles. What if there are mountains in the oceans? Your story is the making of an epic lore. All of you understand this? What if there are mountains in the oceans? Your story is the making of an epic lore. For you have the courage, and that too galore. Because, my dear proud young Indians, you are a lion who is born to roar, and you will roar and be hailed as the king of the jungle. I want all of you to realize that. My dear lions and lionesses, be proud of that and work towards that. That's all I have to say. Yeah, please. Current affairs strategy I already discussed, but I'll just, in case you missed it. Current affairs, very simple strategy. Just first of all, choose very simple one source. May it be vision or anything, you can do that. After that, once you have taken that, make notes out of it. Why do we make notes? Because without notes, we will not be able to revise that effectively. As I told you, if you don't make notes, you will have a compilation of 2000 pages. But if you make notes, it will reduce to 450 pages. Your table should be clean and empty. Even when you are studying, and once you go to the civil services, the files should be empty. The table should be empty. So that means you have cleared all the files. So similarly, make notes of the current affairs. And then again, we made a plan for revision of the static portion 5 times. Same revision principle will apply to the current affairs. But current affairs, you can read as many times as possible because it is limited. At max, what will be there? 400 pages. So even if you read 50 pages every day or maybe 40 pages every day, every 10 days you will be able to revise the entire year's current affairs. So that is how you revise the current affairs. Along with a degree. Which year, any specific year they are mentioning? Okay. So some students who are still in the college and want to prepare for the civil services, the first thing is get yourself aware about the requirements of civil services. What is it that it needs? What is the syllabus? What are the stages? All those things have to be clear. Second thing is the personality element that we spoke about. College is the best place to develop that. You will have a lot of competitions, a lot of events taking place in the college. Make it a point, be it any event, you should be on the stage. You may not be a good dancer, get on the stage. You may not be a good singer, get on the stage. You may not be a good poet, get on the stage. Why? You want to have that confidence. Once that confidence comes in, you will never, ever have to worry about getting on the stage ever. So that is the personality element. Other than that, suppose you are in second year or third year, first thing is you need to plan which year are you attempting the examination and what is the time that is available for you at your disposal. So if suppose you're doing honors in sociology or maybe a particular subject, which is the same subject that you want to take in the optional in civil services. So college is the best time. You can prepare for that subject before the end of your degree. If you can at least achieve that much, after that, your preparation journey will be very comfortable. And one thing for the college students, don't ever miss reading the newspaper. Because once you come closer to the examination, for example, for those appearing in 25, it might not be practically possible closer to the examination to read because of the paucity of time. But in college is the right time to read newspaper on a daily basis for 2 years, 3 years, so that you have an early advantage as compared to the others. So these are some basic steps. Rest of the steps, as I have already told, what it takes to prepare for prelims, for mains. If you have ample amount of time, start planning according to those things. CSAT preparation, again, we have covered substantially. Right time is no right time. Now is the right time always. So if you are appearing for 25, that morning, afternoon, evening is entirely up to you. You can practice at midnight. You can practice at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 12 in the noon. That's totally up to you. The entire thing is you should understand the requirement of CSAT. What is the requirement of CSAT? First is understand the art of letting go. Paper will only be cleared when you let go 15-20 questions. And then make a list of all the topics which have been asked in PYQs, and based on those 40-50 topics, start practicing it on a daily basis. 1 hour every day. If you have more time, you can spend that. If you think that you are really weak, you can spend 2 hours also. But once you practice all the topics, then just re-practice, re-revise, and go through the PYQs. That is the only requirement in CSAT. CSAT is not tough in itself. CSAT is tough because of difficulty in the art of letting go. We want to hold on to things. That causes trouble. Any other questions?
Your advice to the vernacular students, means regional language, means Telugu state, like
Because there is no dearth of opportunities or disadvantage when it comes to if you are having a vernacular medium. The only thing is in the personality test, it is broadly English or Hindi. For that, you need to have at least some command of either of the two languages. But in other things, depending upon whatever the medium you have chosen, you should have command over that particular language in which you are able to write the right amount of content in that language. Otherwise, it is not a disadvantage. If you have studied in whatever language, it is not going to be a disadvantage as long as you can meet the requirements of the exam. You will not be judged just because you are vernacular. Not at all. Are we clear? Any other doubts? First thing is go to PYQs. Evaluation you will find on the model answers, you will find on the internet. One thing is that. The other thing is, suppose you are revising geography today. You read a chapter, identify what is the topic, write on that topic. By comparing it with the model answers. Suppose there is a question which you have read in polity. It is a question regarding what are the conditions of service of maybe the office of CAG. So it has only a specific number of conditions which are directly given in the polity book. So you write that and then you compare what are the things that you have missed. Is there any mention of the constitutional article that you have missed? Or at max you can simply Google the question, it will come, the model answers will come. That's entirely feasible and very easy to do. Only thing is stay consistent in that. Anybody else? You are supposed to have perspectives, because in interview, barring your personal life and personal issues, the questions will broadly be upon the current issues of national, international importance. You will be expected to have opinions. No issues with that. You should be able to justify that. There are times I was asked a question in the interview regarding, this was a previous year in which I got 184 marks in the interview. I was asked a question, what is your take on the fact that the governments of late have resorted to changing the names of the places? They are, for example, there are Islamic names and they are changing into Hindu names. What is your take on that? It is a totally current question it was. But I cannot always go with what the government says, or they may have their views. I simply answered them, sir, for me it is not important whether the names are being changed or not. What is important is the way in which we are teaching history to our students. Do we want our kids only to read the right things and not be aware about the wrong things? Because we learn more from the wrong things rather than the right things. So if we are not even aware what has happened in the history, what are the negative events that have happened, how do we come to know about its dangers and how they occurred and how did we overcome that? So it is totally fine to give the answers like that. But you should be able to justify. You should not take a stand contrary to or in favor of. You can take contrary also, you can take in favor of, as long as you have a rational justification for that. Anybody else? Should we wind up? Hungry now? For? And? So, okay. You should be more hungry for success and less for food, but you should eat on time. I think right now is the time to relax and have lunch. But the only thing that I want all of you to take home today is that belief system. You can forget anything and everything. Don't forget the Chetwood credo, and don't forget that you are the citizens of this great country. Once you realize that, God and the universe will help you to achieve that. So my best wishes to all of you. Do well. And if I do agree that some of you may not have had the courage to ask the questions, start working on it. You can message me on Instagram with the same name, Major Abhinandan Singh. You can find me there. But the point is, start working on your personality. Instagram, I may answer you the questions, but that doesn't give you the opportunity to start working on your personality aspects. So think about it and start working on it. It is never too late to work on it actually. They say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best is today. So if not planted it then, plant it today at least. So that you thank yourself when it should not happen that you work so hard, you clear the prelims, you clear the mains, but because of less marks in the interview, you do not get to the list. That should not happen. So start working on your personality, and my best wishes, and Jai Hind everybody.
Excuse me, anybody wants to meet the sir personally? Just come to the cabin. ఎవరైనా పర్సనల్గా మాట్లాడాలనుకుంటే you can have the